Okay, so you clicked on this video because you want to see the rest of the answers before you take your quiz, and I cannot blame you. So we already gave the answers to scenario 1. If you missed that, it was the first video link. So this was the second video link. So if you missed the answer to this part, you just need to go back to the other video. So here we are in scenario 2. The description is several weeks after Allen conducted a classroom experiment on the effectiveness of various metals in releasing hydrogen gas from hydrochloric acid, he read that the gas company was burying sheets of magnesium next to iron pipelines in order to prevent rusting. Allen wondered if other active metals would also be effective in preventing rust. To investigate, he placed each of the following into a separate test tube containing water: one iron nail wrapped with an aluminum strip, one iron nail wrapped with a magnesium strip, and one iron nail wrapped in a lead strip. He used the same amounts of water from the same source, equal amounts of metal wraps, and the same type of iron nails. At the end of 5 days, he described the amounts of rusting as either small, moderate, or large. He also recorded the color of the water. So his question is, does wrapping iron in an active metal prevent rusting? And of course, if you put that in a different way, as long as you said mostly that, if I put another metal with my iron, will it not rust? That's basically what we're talking about here. So then to put that question into a hypothesis, if the metal wrapped around the iron is active, then it will prevent. Well, no, let's not be that specific. Let's be less specific. If metal is wrapped around it, let's just do that. If metal is wrapped around the iron nail, it will prevent rusting. And we probably should say if an active. There we go. All right. So our experimental group is the one that is being tested. So we actually have a couple of experimental groups. We've got experimental group 1, that is the iron nail with magnesium strip. And then we've got the second group, which is the iron nail with a lead strip. The control group is going to be the group that has nothing done to it. So your control group is always your group that gets no treatment, or is the group that is the most normal, the most average, the most everyday. So the iron nail with no metal was our control. So you've got to see how much is the nail rusting just period by itself. And then once you wrap it with the other stuff, what difference does it make? So the IV is the thing that the scientist is changing on purpose with the expectation that the DV will change in a measurable way. So the thing that, what was his name? Allen. The thing that Allen uses as IV was the presence of extra metal. So the presence of active metal near the iron. And the dependent variable is how much did it rust. That's the thing that he's measuring. And he couldn't measure it quantitatively with numbers, so he had to do it qualitatively. Small, medium, or large amount of rust. And then he also talked about how, rusty colored the water was. But his dependent variable is the amount of rust. Things that need to stay constant, well, everything that says same. He used the same amounts of water from the same source, equal amounts of metal wraps, same type of iron nails. So all of those things. Oh, it's not letting me copy. Control C, copy. And Control V, paste. All right, so that's that. Then we did number 1, number 2, and number 3 on that first video. So again, if you missed that, you need to go back to the other video. So now we're on number 4. The higher the temperature of the air in the oven, the faster the cake will bake. So the IV would be the oven temperature, and the DV would be baking speed. What's going to need to stay constant? The oven itself, the mix used, the ingredients used. You can't use tap water one time and bottled water another time. Yeah, we could keep going, but we only needed one. 5, lemon trees receiving the most water produce the most lemons. So the IV is the water amount. That's how much water was given to them. The DV, what's being measured, is the number of lemons that the tree produces. And one thing that would need to stay constant is the type of lemon. So there are Meyer lemons, there are little teeny itty bitty lemons, there's big, and they're all going to produce different numbers of fruit on the tree. So the type of lemon would need to stay constant. The type of water, and the amount of water. Oh no, the amount is the thing we're changing. My bad. But the type of water, the source of it, would need to stay the same. You can't use spring water for one and nasty water from the bottom of a creek for the second one. So, number 6, an investigation found that more bushels of potatoes were produced when the soil was fertilized more. So, what's the IV? What's the thing that the scientist is doing differently? Amount of fertilizer. And then the DVs, what's being measured? More bushels of potatoes. So, bushels of potatoes or amount of potatoes. A bushel is just a way to measure fruit and produce. A bushel basket is a certain size of a basket. At least one thing that would need to stay constant. Okay, so again, the type of potato. There's multiple different types of potatoes, so you need to use the same type of potato. It needs to be the same soil. It needs to be the same watering schedule and amount, and the environment that it's in, same amount of sunlight, all that stuff would need to be the same. Number 7, students measured the temperature of the water at different depths in Lake Skywalker and found that the temperature varied. So the IV is the where they measured. So the depth of the water is what's changing. DV is what they measured. So they measured the temperature. What's going to need to stay constant? The thermometer that they're using, the actual location where they are dropping in the thermometer would need to stay the same. The time of day that they're taking the measurements all would need to stay the same. We probably could keep going with that, but you only had to have one. Number 8, the amount of pollution produced by cars was measured for cars using gasoline containing different amounts of lead. So what's the thing that is different about each of the test subjects? Right, the different amounts of lead. The IV is the amount of lead in the gasoline. DV is what's being measured, and that's the amount of pollution produced. So amount of pollution is the DV. It's what's being measured. And then what would need to stay constant? If the only thing that we are changing is the amount of lead inside the gasoline, then the car itself and its engine need to stay the same. Whatever the test area, wherever they're driving around, needs to stay the same. The environment needs to stay the same. How long between measurements needs to stay the same. And again, you could probably keep going. The driver might even need to stay the same. The brand of gasoline needs to stay the same. Okay, so hopefully that helps you out. And you are now ready for your quiz. Bye.